Hey friends, you are with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today we are going to make something for our home. We're going to make wash your hands signs. So I designed multiple versions of this, some funny, which is the one we're going to do today. And I also made printables. So if you are not crafting with us with your Cricut today, or if you just don't have your Cricut yet, or if you want to send these to someone who doesn't have a Cricut and can't make their own sign, the printables are down in the description below. You can just download those for free. And I also hope that you will hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you join me every week for new videos and new SVGs and PNGs and cut files. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna craft with our Cricut. So we're gonna hop over to Cricut Design Space, and then we're gonna hit the craft table, and I'm gonna show you how to do it all. And stay safe, guys. I am candidly a little worried about my family, and I'm sure you're worried about yours and all the amazing healthcare workers and things out there. So everyone, just stay safe in this time. Stay home, craft with me, do fun things, enjoy your family, and yeah. So let's hop over to Cricut Design Space and get going. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and I've already uploaded my design. Just remember, you can hop down in the description below to get the cut file for this project. So I'm going to open the file that I've already created. Okay, and because I want to show you guys a couple of things, we're going to hit Customize. And yes, I already had it on my mat. Okay, so this design, currently, I've already made it so that it would cut on a Joy. And I'm going to show you in my next video how to take an image that is larger than the Joy's mat and cut that down so that you can cut it on the Joy. But this particular project, you could cut on the Joy, the Explorer, the Maker. It just so happens that I'm going to cut it on the Joy. So let me minimize my screen just a touch here. But basically, for any of you that know how to use the contour tool, that's how I did it. I feel like I need to show you just super quick. I'll do a separate video on this as well. Let's go into uploads. And again, I've already uploaded the design. By the way, these are other ones that are in that same set that you could use. If you didn't want to use this cut, you could use a different one. But I'm going to grab this. Okay, when it comes in, my flag that I want to put this on is roughly 8x8, or an 8x8 without the edges and the borders where the sewing is. So I'm going to go into more, and I'm just going to reduce the size. I'm thinking that a width of about 7 inches would probably be perfect. Okay, so if you look here, let's ungroup it. But do you see that it still has this caution cone? And that's because part of that cut, and if you click on it, it's the "yuh, filthy animal," is still too large for a Joy mat. So the Joy can cut up to 4 inches wide. Now, of course, it could flip it on its end for the 7 inches, but it can't be more than 4 inches on one side. So what you would do is you would take that piece or that element and duplicate it. Okay, and then you've got 2 different pieces, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the "yaw" from one of them. So let's hit contour. I'm going to remove "yaw" and then just remove those 2 little inner pieces. Okay, and so now if you look at it, filthy animal is 3.54 by 6. So that works. So that can fit on the Joy material. And then we'll just take the other one and we'll go into contour, and we'll take off filthy and then animal, basically all the other elements. So you can either click on the side panel or you can click here on the actual design, and we're going to leave the word "yuh." Okay, and so now when we click off of that, so now they're in 2 pieces. So now when it goes to matte, and see, we can still put it, you know, kind of where it was before, right? And so now you notice there's no caution cones, which means that all of these elements can cut on the Joy. Now, of course, this design, if you have a Maker or an Explorer, you could cut it all at one time and you wouldn't have to go through this process. But for the Joy, they're separate. And then if you would like to cut it on the Maker or the Explorer, even whenever, you know, before we modified it, you would just select all and make sure that everything was attached so that it would cut it all at one time and in the right place. Okay, now because I'm using the Joy, I'm going to delete that all together and go back to what I already had. And I'm going to, just for my sake, I like to know exactly what it's going to look like when I put it on. Okay, so now I have all of my elements. They're all small enough to cut on the Joy, and so now we're ready to send this project to Make It. So send it to the canvas. So we select Make It. And now with the Joy, it's going to ask you if you want to use a smart mat, if you want to use it on the mat. And so we're actually going to use Smart Iron-On. So I'm going to collect without a mat, or select without a mat. Okay, so then when it brings it up, the packaging for the Smart Iron-On, if you've not used any of it out of the packaging yet, it's 24 inches long. So what I'm going to do is then look at my design, and I am going to move things around to save as much of it as absolutely possible. One thing though, I should have told you this first. You hit mirror because this is iron-on, and then what that means is that if you've already moved things around on the mat, sometimes then they're, you know, in a bad spot. Okay, so I was able to get filthy animal, y'all. Okay, and so then if we move this piece up, and it's not going to fit in that little spot, so we'll just move it up as high as we possibly can. So now at first we were going to use, what, 15 inches, and now we're down to using 12. Okay, so then once I hit continue, it will reduce that size. Okay, so we select continue, and by the way, your Joy is going to connect via Bluetooth because for those of you who have a Joy already, you know this, but the Joy does not have any buttons on it, and it does not have a connection cable that can be connected to your computer. So you're either going to use your smartphone, your iPad, or you're going to use your desktop, but it's all going to be via Bluetooth. Okay, so Smart Iron-On, and we're just going to leave the default pressure the way that it is. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and load our material into the mat. Okay, so here we are on the craft table. So let me show you what we have. I have the pennant flag that I'm going to be using, and I have Smart Iron-On in black. I have my EasyPress mat, my Cricut Joy. I have a clear acrylic ruler, which I use for everything. And because this particular flag, this is my weeding tool, this particular flag has kind of a tacky substance on the back of it. I am going to be using a piece of wax paper or freezer paper to just protect my mat whenever I do the heating. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll open up the Smart Iron-On and feed it into our Cricut and start cutting. Okay, so we're going to just open up our packaging, and the machine will feed it in automatically. Now just remember, the Joy does not have any buttons, so you're going to have to select the go button from your mobile device or your computer. The other thing, and this is very important, the Smart Iron-On has, two sides, obviously, the shiny side and then the more matte side. This is iron-on, so we are cutting it backwards, right? You hit the mirror on whenever we were on Design Space, so make sure that you feed it into your machine shiny side down. If you don't, you will be so very sad. Now what this is doing right now is it's measuring the material to make sure you have enough for this cut. Okay, so now we'll go to our machine and select the go to the computer and select the go, and then it will start cutting. Okay, so I selected unload on my machine. I'm gonna close that up, move it out of the way. So now what I want to do is I'm just going to trim off the section that we cut, and I will save the rest of this for the next project. Okay, so now what we need to do is weed our project, and then we will trim out the letters and place it on the flag. Okay, so I finally finished weeding all of my lettering, and just make sure you get in all those tiny little grooves. The worst thing is when you work this hard and then you miss something and then you go to iron it on and you realize that you missed it and then it's too late. So just make sure you double check all the little curly cues and things to get everything out, and then take a pair of scissors and cut away the ones that we moved around. Now, Filthy Animal is together as it was in the original design, and so is your hands. So we really just need, actually Wash is too. I think Wash and your hands were together. We really just need to cut out the yaw and then separate the Wash and the animals. So we'll just take a pair of scissors and cut along. And then we'll place it on our flag pennant. Okay, so now we have everything cut out and we want to place it on the designs. Let's move this over and cut off our tags. By the way, this little pennant came from Hobby Lobby. Usually they're like $5, and then you can, use your coupon and get like 50–60% off of it for that day. Okay, so we're going to place everything where we want it to be, and we are going to heat up our EasyPress. So after looking at the design, my original design, I realized that I did move around the Your Hands and the Wash. So I've corrected that, I split them apart. So I have my EasyPress mat and I have my EasyPress. I looked at the guide, which I'm linking up in the description below, and I needed this to be on 340 based on my material and the Smart Iron-On. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to put this piece of freezer paper between my mat and this little pennant flag. And I actually think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move these pieces off, and then I'll do those all together once this bottom element is in place. Okay, so 30 seconds, and we want it to, there we go. So it's, with this particular material and the Smart Iron-On, it's 340 and it's a light pressure. And then I can't, unfortunately, really flip this over and do on the other side because of that sticky adhesion, but I think it's gonna be just fine. And with this Smart Iron-On, it's a cool peel. Okay, so now we're moving on to the second group. I want to make sure that I get them in the exact correct spot. And to do that, I wanted to apply a little bit of heat, and then I moved it so that it would be on top of the whole thing. Okay, so I just trimmed away the excess freezer paper, and now the design is cool. When you peel at an angle. Always peel at an angle. It turned out so good. This is gonna be fun. I'm thinking about hanging this on my kids' bathroom door. And this might be something I keep after all this Corona business is over with. Turned out really good, don't you think? Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little craft, and I hope you hop down in the description below and grab the cut files. And remember, if you have loved ones who don't have a Cricut, or if they just don't feel like crafting right now, there are free printables down there for you as well. And I hope you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll see you guys next time.